It's April 5th, 2017. This is Atlanta United FC Weekly, Week 5. I am Tim Herb, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, my partner in crime, my hetero life partner, Mr. Kevin Bradley, right across from me if you guys are watching. If not, he's still right across from me. Yeah.
Still kicking.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's the weather's definitely having an effect on my mood lately. I just feel way less. Yeah,
you were saying earlier whenever you were talking about we're doing level checks, you said you're going to be a little more subdued this Dude, we'll see.
Yeah,
it's just because the disappointment of not having another architect at the table for you to to bounce ideas and stuff off of. So
it was good having him on, though.
It was very good. So if you guys haven't gone back and listened, make sure, if you guys are subscribed, first off, make sure that you guys leave us a rating on iTunes. A review would be great. We do have a new review.
I read the last one. You want to read this one? You got it pulled up? If not, I can pull it up.
Yeah, I think I can pull it up real quick.
But yeah, new review and comment. So
this comes from Rude Boy 20. I love the caption or the subject, which is Atlanta, 2 claps emoji, United, 2 claps emoji. I think it's fantastic. First real podcast I've found on Atlanta United in all caps and loving it so far. Just like the host, I'm pretty new to the MLS, having just watched EPL and International previously. So far, they've been pretty knowledgeable.
Another so far, I like it.
Keeps us honest.
Cater expectations.
Yeah. So far, they've been pretty knowledgeable of what's going on and giving us info on the players that I just don't have time to get. I'm hooked. Well, thank you, Rude Boy 20. I'm not sure who you are, but we love you. And thanks for listening. Yeah, you are the real MVP.
Need an air horn. Need rap air horn.
Yeah, and that's rating number 6. Yeah. So we have 4 anonymous, and then 2 that have actually left a review for us.
iTunes doesn't post it until you at least hit that 5th one. So
is that the deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wouldn't post it on the actual show feed until that 5th one came in. So now the 6 are up.
That makes sense. So yeah, make sure that you guys go back and listen to. We had Dan James, our good buddy, longtime friend, come and join us for the preview that was all 40 minutes before the Seattle game. So we are coming off
as we're watching the Toronto game, which will be part of tonight's episode.
I think it worked out perfectly because last episode we did talk, preview of both games.
Right.
Having, like you said, we were watching Toronto and Sporting KC play at the time, and I think that a lot of stuff. I think we were pretty spot on with the prediction. I can't remember what you said. I know I think Dan and I were saying 1-1 for
me and you said 1-1.
Me and you said 1-1. What did Dan?
Dan pulled 2-1, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so obviously, if you guys are listening, you're probably Atlanta United fans. You know that we tied we drew. Sorry for all you soccer nuts, football nuts. Anyway, we drew Seattle, got a point playing almost 30,000 miles away at CenturyLink Field, and I am more than happy with that.
Yeah, especially considering that first 15 minutes of play where I was terrified. And I'm still honestly shocked that we got out with a draw because we had some really, really lucky breaks. And statistically, the game was pretty even. Yes, we had some opportunities to score, and I think our defense stepped up in huge ways. But that first 15 minutes, I felt like I didn't breathe because it was Seattle pressing our defense nonstop. And it was just shot after shot, challenge after challenge, and it was relentless. And then some really, really shaky drop passes to Can. And, it was terrifying. And so to get out with the draw, get the point, still in second place in the division, I'll take it.
Yeah. And a side note for you guys watching, apologies for the bad lighting. The weather's shit. And it's kind of hard to get the good lighting in here, the natural lighting.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
as little as you can see of me as possible.
So you're right. So we did get a couple lucky breaks, but I think we worked our asses off.
Oh, absolutely. Especially Garza. Good God, I think Dan had a great point. It sucks that he couldn't be on. He's out of town, but he actually said in that preview show that he could be our linchpin for that game, and I
think he was just saying in general that Greg Garza could be our linchpin because he is.
What is he doing inside the 18 on the other end of the field right now?
Yeah. Well, for you don't watch a lot of EPL. That is the left back.
Yeah.
Left backs and right backs even. The wing back position is more of the norm now than a typical fullback.
Right.
And I don't know. It's, again, correct me if I'm wrong, in limited viewing. We've watched MLS pretty heavily in terms of highlights. I've watched a lot of New York and Portland, and a lot of the teams that get nationally televised on Saturdays and Sundays.
Chicago Fire this week.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that in my limited viewing, I think Greg Garza, who's a newcomer to the MLS right now, is the best left back I've seen play in the MLS.
Yeah.
And I am more than thrilled. Haven't seen any reports about his hip. I don't know that. I mean, nothing's come up on my news feed. Nothing's come up. If you guys know anything about that, let us know. I'm excited to see if he is, or I guess nervous too, anxious to see if he's back on Friday or Saturday.
We'll have a lot of people back this week, which will be great. That was the other thing, was trying to really figure out what was going to happen in that game, because there were so many people from both sides out.
That's what I was going to say. So what is your takeaway from Friday? All right, so one of the things that I've gotten used to hearing from a lot of people is the proverbial asterisk that keeps getting placed on every single game that Atlanta plays.
Yep.
First game, okay, we lost, but first game in our existence, first competitive game in our existence. Okay, put an asterisk there. Okay, second game. Well, it's Minnesota, and they're not great. It's in the snow. Okay, 6 goals doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
And then we get a game Chicago Fire team who has the blueprint to beat this Atlanta United team. Well, they got a red card. We only won 4-0 and completely stomped them.
Yeah.
And then you come into this game, it's, you're not really seeing, you don't have Torres on the field, and you don't have Clint Dempsey on the field. And the second Clint Dempsey comes on, he looks dangerous, and if it weren't for the crossbar. But at the same time, you look at this Atlanta United team and what happens in the second half when Almiron comes on, when Carmona comes on. I think that they solidified the team. I think Almiron immediately was, making a lot of great plays. I think that Friday is the least amount of, for me at least, it's the least likely game to put, or at least, what am I saying? It doesn't qualify as much for an asterisk as the other game.
No, absolutely.
To me, this is a test of depth, if nothing else, and just a test of. I think this is tactician versus tactician in terms of
a real test of
managers.
our defense, which is what I've been saying week in and week out that I wanted to see, and I think that they stepped up big time on defense this week.
I think so too. Dan talking about Greg Garza being the linchpin of this team.
And Perez.
I think that Leandro Gonzalez Perez is our best player of the season so far. Take away, Joseph Martinez has 6 goals. Is 5 goals, 6 goals? 5 goals.
5, I think.
Yeah, I'm losing. No, you're right. Kubo Torres has 6. Yeah, it's Joseph Martinez has 5 goals. Almiron has 2 goals and 2 assists. He's been great in the midfield. You have Assad. Well, he scored the first goal. Then you have Gressel, who's been absolutely a maniac in the 2 games that he started.
Terrifyingly so on Friday, because he gets that card.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute. But to me, there's nobody more impressive. I don't think that he's put a bad foot forward this entire season, at least under the microscope. I think that Leandro Gonzalez Perez is amazing. Yeah. You go back and it started to really emerge and we talked about it on Friday, right? We talked about how Parkhurst is supposed to be the brick in the wall of this defense, right?
Relatively quiet Friday.
Right, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I would say that's a fantastic thing. He's not having to make any kind of recoveries. He's not having to go back.
Mears is pretty quiet too.
Mears, yeah. And I thought, again, I would rather not hear from the defenders or make note of them unless it's for the reason that we're making note of Gonzalez Perez, where you're seeing him. He is kind of falling in line with a new type of center back that you're seeing a lot in Europe. So you see with, you look at John Stones or even Otamendi, his counterpart with Manchester City, or you look at, in my case, my lowly Liverpool FC team, Matip and Lovren, both to an extent, are ball playing center backs.
Right.
We, especially with this type of team, you need somebody like that that's going to be able to play the ball. Puyol, to an extent, if we're going to compare this team stylistically to another team that Tata Martino's coached, granted he didn't have Puyol at the time, but you look at just that style of play, you need somebody who's going to be able to play the ball out of the back. And Gonzalez Perez, if you go back to the Chicago game, granted it was 11v10, he completed more passes than Chicago. Right. He is a great ball playing center back. He is absolutely a rock in that defense. He's 25 years old, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And then also at times you see him awkwardly juking people in the attacking half, or at least even in the 18.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, why is he up there? Oh, okay. I mean, I'm all right with that up there.
Right.
Because then I was like, okay, who's back there covering? And you pull back and Lorenowitz is back there. He's covering. So at least they are shifting
They're
around
communicating and making sure that
those voids are filled in a way, it almost seems like we're playing with 5 midfielders in that case, or 4 midfielders, I guess, and a couple more attackers. But I genuinely think that we saw more even offensively out of our defensive players in Friday night's game. That's very true.
Than we did out of our offense. We're talking about Garza, who's constantly making runs and making plays up top. Gressel, who's a midfielder, but still very, very active, has one of the best opportunities to score that we had all night with the cut around on the player and then the shot that goes wide left, I believe it was. And then
it got palmed out, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was heading for opposite net, or at least along those lines.
And Perez,
it looked like it was on goal.
Again, also making those runs up top. And those 3, you can argue, were the most prevalent players on the field Friday night for Atlanta United.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in the first, so let's take a look at the game as a whole. I would say that the first 15 minutes or so, I was very impressed with what Villalba was doing. I thought he was making
so scared. That first 15 minutes was terrifying, man.
But I think when we had the ball, he was
close to doing exactly what New York City did.
Yeah,
where you're one bad touch away on a shaky can in the box to volley something out, and they're up.
No. That was, you're talking about Real Salt Lake against Minnesota. Whenever Ramondo made a terrible,
it happened in New York City too.
I got you.
Yeah, it happened in New York City as well.
But
San Jose scored on him.
You're right. So I thought Villalba was making good natural runs. I thought that they were playing very well, considering that the formation that they had more of a, I guess, a holding. The personnel was more in a holding mindset, as you probably should be traveling to a very hostile crowd. I don't think
it got past I don't think it got on until past that 15-minute mark, honestly.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like that. We might have had 1 or 2, but yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong in my timeline, but I thought early on I was happy with what Villalba was doing. Yeah. I thought that.
No, I agree. It definitely was.
But Gressel. So let's talk Gressel. You wanted to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
He was very aggressive.
Very scarily aggressive.
Right. But I
tactfully so.
I want to say that I was very impressed. Both, I think all 3 of us, even probably Angie too, we're watching the game and we're talking about how he's got that yellow card. He's really got to calm down.
And then he makes one of the most aggressive challenges on a 1v1.
But
that happens all night, where it lasts for all of a 20-yard stretch where they're jockeying back and forth for that ball. He wins the challenge, and we're like, "Oh, thank God."
I don't know. I think I was still pretty impressed that he didn't go after a ball that he knew he couldn't get.
Right.
He didn't go after a challenge.
He did get really lucky to only get the yellow, though. We talked about that.
I think so too. Yeah, because he went studs up,
but he did pull it back.
He pulled back after the fact. Granted, it is bang bang. It is very, very quick.
So quick.
Yeah, it is very quick, and you pulling out in a replay in slow motion after the fact is probably different than seeing it in real time.
Right.
The referee is probably going to see your leg come back. He's going to be okay with it. And by the time he looks at your position, your leg is back, and you're kind of sliding backwards as opposed to being.
Also, the reaction on his face too.
I think so too. So you may say that he was being aggressive, but I don't think he made really ill-advised challenges after the fact. And I was very impressed by his maturity, because we needed that.
Absolutely.
Because we couldn't play Carmona the entire second half. We had to be reserved with his minutes and also with Almiron's minutes. And I think that, I don't know. I know a lot of people were impressed with Lorenowitz, but again, at the same time, I could say the same thing for a defensive holding midfielder, that if I don't hear, if I'm not saying your name the entire game, that is a good performance.
Absolutely.
I think that, no news is good news in that case.
Absolutely.
So let's see. I'm trying to think. I think that Roldan was the reason we did not secure 3 points. But
really?
But yeah, I think so. He saved that goal that Kenwyn Jones could have scored in stoppage time. Yeah. But at the same time, the crossbar, we got very fortunate that Clint Dempsey didn't score.
Well, the Clint Dempsey score, the opening shot that
Roldan
goes off of his chest, and he's just left of the post. Like, if he's one step to the right inside the 6, and that cross comes in and hits his chest, that's a Seattle goal 9 times out of 10. Like, he's right on goal, and it just happens to go left. Like, they had so many I mean, just so many lucky breaks for Atlanta out of that game, I thought. I mean, yeah, they had some shitty breaks too, where they had some opportunities on goal. The Kenwin Jones at the end, absolutely. That was heartbreaking.
I think that's less luck, though. I think that is very good defense by Roldan.
Absolutely.
In our case, I say that we're very fortunate that Clint Dempsey's header, just having just come on into the game, hit the crossbar.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the same thing. Like, Roldan's defense is definitely – it's just a bad break for Atlanta. It's not – it's not luck. It's definitely – Atlanta got more lucky, I think, than Seattle. Like, Seattle played defense and made key stops when they needed to from the defensive position, whereas Atlanta they have a chest deflection that should have been a goal. They have Dempsey's header that hits the crossbar. Like, a couple of really, really awkward saves and challenges inside the box that go Atlanta's way.
So with that, we traveled 2,600 miles out to Seattle into one of the quote-unquote most hostile environments in MLS. It was loud. It was loud, but I want to point out one of the great things that I had. Again, I'm bad at this, crediting who I saw. It wasn't us on Twitter. I saw somebody posting it that they wanted to call out the Atlanta United fans that were at CenturyLink because there was a picture of two of them standing up for the entire game.
Nice.
And Seattle fans sitting down.
Also, I saw all 5 weeks, the top attended game was an Atlanta United game, even on the road.
So you think, yeah. I mean, the Minnesota crowd probably was pretty large.
Yep. Minnesota, the Seattle crowd, and I mean, some of that's going to be theirs.
But I think a lot of it, and some of it has to do with,
thing to see.
Yeah, some of it has to do with these being soccer-specific stadiums that don't have that great of capacity, and then that Minnesota and us are all both playing in football fields, college football fields right now. So, with that though, happy with a point.
Absolutely.
Happy to come away with a point. I am too. You go play the defending champions. They're finally, starting to catch their stride.
So let's talk about
after
that.
A couple weeks.
Let's talk about Toronto now. I mean, or the defending champions being Seattle, but about Toronto
the defending challengers for the title. Yes, we got Toronto coming up on Saturday.
Exactly. So we watched that game. Another game that is somewhat plagued by the fact that one of their best players is out and Josie not going in until there's like 15, 20 minutes left. We were actually recording whenever he came on the field. Toronto looked really, really sloppy. They had 4 or 5 shanks inside the 18 that were direct goal scoring opportunities that were wild shots. Another 0-0 game though for them as well. So I mean, you were saying that you think that was Sporting Kansas City that they played, right?
Correct.
So you were saying in your analysis that Sporting Kansas City plays a little bit more offensively the way that Atlanta United does.
They appeared to. In the game that we watched, they play a lot of local ball, a lot of ball on the ground, a lot of playing, triangle passes, not a whole lot of hoofing the ball up.
Yeah.
And I think that so Toronto looks to me, first of all, they're still undefeated, right? Yeah. They're 1-0-3, right? They have 7 points, or no, 6 points. Sorry, I can do math, but their build-up play looks great, right? Yeah. They don't. How many goals have they given up this season?
I'm not going to know that off the top of my head, but
Toronto's given up 2 goals.
Okay,
in 4 games,
right?
So they give up half a goal a game. That's pretty good.
Yep.
I would say that their build-up play looked great. I think it's very uncharacteristic of the people that they have to be missing the shots that they are. So you look at Sebastian Javinko, you look at, Josie Altidore.
Javinko's free kick was the closest thing to
I think he's
a legitimate shot that they had at actually getting a point in that game.
Yeah, I think he's
the rest of them were just so wildly off target.
He's reigning MLS MVP, I do believe. Yeah. He is an incredible player. He was good even whenever he was at Juve and whenever he was over in Italy. I think we're going to have trouble. Okay, so it looks like we're back home training. We're at the facilities. We're in
they got a new weight room.
Yeah.
Right.
So we traveled 2,600 miles out to Seattle. We traveled 2,600 miles back.
Now we got to travel
in the course of a couple days.
Yeah,
we travel. So I did a little bit of math. I may be wrong on this, but I think it's if we follow the same course where we're going to and from, and we're coming back during our breaks between the games, and we're not going straight to the next team.
Right.
We're looking at in 4 weeks. So this is second week of 4-leg away stretch, right? So we have Seattle, Toronto, Montreal, and then Real Salt Lake.
Good God.
And in total, if we follow that same path, we're looking at about traveling 12,000 miles
Good God.
in the course of 4 weeks.
That's insane.
And that's coming off of an international break. So you're adding fatigue. And to me, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a sports scientist, but it seems more appropriate for me for us to go straight to Toronto from Seattle.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because they don't have away facilities, if we don't have anywhere that we can go and train. I can't imagine that they don't. And that's one of the things. So I think that Dan maybe talked about that last week about.
Well, it seems as far as a conditioning standpoint to make more sense too, from a climate perspective and everything else.
Especially whenever we're going over to Real Salt Lake, and Salt Lake is definitely above. It's definitely high altitude, right? So I think maybe one of the problems that Dan was talking about, I can't remember if it was on air or off air, when he's talking about one of the challenges the MLS faces is just how far apart the teams are. In England, completely fine.
Absolutely.
Completely fine for a team like
Texas, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So you have Newcastle's going to train all week up north to go down and play Southampton.
Right.
Well, not now because they're not both in the, Newcastle's not EPL. But anyway, Sunderland. But I mean, there's not really a big issue.
Right.
You can take a bus coach ride or whatever down a couple hours. For that game, or you can take a flight that's like an hour long probably.
Right.
But for this, you're right. I mean, it's you do have a challenge in front of you.
And you have such a big, again, it's the same thing that comes up every year in the NFL. Every team that goes to Denver has to get over that hump. Every team that has to go play in Green Bay towards the end of the season has to get over that hump. And the climate plays a big part of the game, particularly, coming off of the Minnesota game where it's in the snow the entire time. Now you're up in Toronto, you're just getting back from Seattle and up in Montreal. Like that climate, Georgia is as far removed from that as possible. Granted, we're getting into the warmer months of the year, but still the altitude, all of that, plus travel, plus jet lag, everything else that goes along with it, that's really, really taxing on players and on a team.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw something else
and
out
a young
to you,
team
right?
at that.
So we don't have a home game again until the end of April, right?
Right.
And then we go straight back on the road. We have 6 out of our. Well, we already played one, but let's just say let's rewind a week, and what I say is correct. The next 6 out of the next 7 games are on the road. We go Toronto, Montreal, Real Salt Lake, and then we go back home to play DC.
Still travel back to get back
exactly. And then the next week we go up to New York City to play at Yankee Stadium against David Villa. That'll be interesting. And then we go back to Atlanta. And then we go and play in Portland.
Good God.
Against Fernando Adi. And Diego Valeri. And Blanco. That whole team.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of challenges in front of us. I mean, do you think that we leave anybody at home?
Well, I think one big thing is we do have one player at home right now who will be having hopefully a fresh set of legs coming into that DC United game at the end of the month.
I very much hope so. I think that'll be
that's on the early estimate.
I think that's right on the
6 week time frame that we've been given.
I think that the way that we're playing, I think that we're going to be okay.
Even if he comes in
even
if he comes in similar to what we had this week.
With Kenwyne Jones coming in.
Exactly. If it's the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, just to get them stretched out and comfortable, if we've got a lead or if it's on the cusp and we're having some good breaks, I think that's good. And that eases him into filling some of that void that we're going to be experiencing going into those.
I think so too.
Games.
So we saw a liveliness once Kenwyne Jones came in.
Oh yeah.
So with that, so let's talk tactically. Going into Toronto, going into a hostile environment, you saw us play a little more defensive against Seattle, right? I would say so, yeah. And I think that we play more defensive probably in Toronto too, because you look at the attacking options they have.
Right.
I think that we need to be. I honestly, as much as I want Villalba to thrive and flourish, I think that we got to put Kenwyne Jones in and kind of switch up the style of play.
Right. I think you play a little bit more muscle and a little bit more aggressively up top rather than the finesse speed sort of play that Atlanta's been playing typically.
Yeah, you're talking about a giant.
Which you see Gressel having a lot of success playing that way Friday against that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenwyne Jones is a bigger body that's going to be able to throw his weight around a little bit more up top, which opened up a really opportunistic goal scoring chance late in the game by having that body in there.
And I think that one of the good things with that is if we have a huge body, a big veteran like Kenwin Jones who's able to hold up play some, he's going to have people like Assad and Almiron playing off of him. Right. And you get Carmona back into the game. Right. And you start with Carmona and you have Gressel and you play them more in a defensive holding role. Right. You have Almiron in front. Right. And then you have the two Argentines on the right and left.
If you're having to pull two defenders onto a big Kenwin Jones and it opens up a quick out route for Almiron to come around the outside or something like that and get fed from Gressel or something in mid, like that's exactly what we need to do. We don't need to load the top end with all quick players whenever we need to be prepared for that quick counterattack and an offensive opponent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and I think it definitely helps tactically too, the way that we like to push our wing backs up.
Absolutely.
And to have Carmona, have two people very solid, and Carmona and Gressel in the back, in the back of the midfield. I mean, I would be fine even with Lorenowitz.
Yeah,
But I think that you play your best 11. I think that is our best 11 going into that game. And I
agree with that.
I hope that Greg Garza takes it a little easy.
Yep.
Because
he's going to have to, especially if he's got, even if it's just a slight tweak on that.
It's the hip that he kept him out a year or two out of.
He was out last year with
completely.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the game. Obviously, I'm looking forward to every game. But
I'm looking forward to them being back in town, man.
I am too.
It's so crazy. I actually got my confirmation from the front office, as it were, today.
The ticket office.
Yeah. So I had to just verify all the terms and conditions and all that. So
let's take a look. That's really awesome. I can't wait. Yeah. It sucks that we're going to be in separate sections, but at the same time, I mean, you can always sell those.
Yeah, exactly.
Find a ticket over with us. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway, so Toronto, what do you think our biggest challenges with them?
Josie Altidore.
How do you think we combat that? Do we put
I think that comes
Carmona on him. Like, do we
just tell Garza he's not running up and making those long runs to where he's got to get back, and you've got people that are having to cover for him, that you've got a bulldog in your backfield ready to go whenever somebody's making those quick counters.
Yeah. I think he's just such a big body too.
Exactly.
Altidore's so big, and he can maneuver really well in the box. I think that, to me, I think a biggest challenge is probably going to be Javinko.
That's true too, especially from the outside.
If you can shut him down, and you can probably shut down a lot of him, and then you have Michael Bradley too.
Oh, yeah. Which he's been making some we saw that Friday too. He made some terrible, terrible chip plays for some through balls on players making runs up top that were so far off target.
So you want to
forcing right and left, like. Yeah.
Unconventionally, he played the entire game, right?
Yes.
So you have us, you have Seattle, you have Toronto, even to an extent.
I think Zusi was the same way.
Resting their internationals.
He played the entire game as well.
Yeah. So I think that if we can shut down Javinko, I think that we can stop good delivery into the box. We can we could stop him from getting too.
That's the thing.
Too open in front of box.
You really need to shut down the delivery more so than the actual. Yeah.
All right. So looking forward to the next few games, I'm licking my chops at the Real Salt Lake game,
especially after Minnesota gets some much needed vengeance going into.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I mean, sister team, I guess, if you want to consider them, since another expansion side, and seeing them get their first win in decisive fashion.
The only I was thinking up until that game, I was like, oh. There weren't really any blowouts this week. Like every week so far, we've had a big, 6-2 game or a 5-1 game here or there. And except for the Minnesota game this week, that was really the only one that was a high scoring game.
Did we miss? You might have missed the New York Red Bulls game.
What did that end up going?
It was
4-2. I think that was 4-2. They scored late.
No, it's 4-1.
Oh, 4-1. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we did watch that because that was Kubo's for us.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I am definitely licking my chops. I mean, it's very uncharacteristic of Nick Raimondo to make mistakes like he did against Minnesota.
God, just gave up 2 goals.
Yeah, but you also look, Minnesota's strike partnership of Molino and Christian Ramirez, sorry, excuse me.
Right.
Who a U.S. national team call-up after that. He scored 4 goals, I think, so far this season in 6 games. Jesus. He scored 50 in, 70, 80 games for Minnesota whenever they were playing in USL. And he's a big body. He seems like he could play very well. But I am looking forward to that. Also, Montreal is an interesting team because I feel like
I really have no notes on Montreal right now.
Week in, week out, I feel like I watch them draw.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't really have notes on them right
exactly.
now.
But they're not from what I remember. They're not scoreless draws. So Montreal's sitting there, 0-1-3. So they have 3 points.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily bottom of the barrel. I think that Philadelphia is sitting below them with only 2 points. But you look back, they scored 2 against Chicago. They got that game back.
Yep.
Actually, no, Solignac, I guess, drew that game for Chicago.
Oh, what a goal!
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So they lost 1-0 to San Jose. They tied Seattle. That's a good.
Yeah,
that is a good 1 point to get. They tied New York City FC. Another point to get.
Great point, right?
And then Chicago, they tied 2-2.
And
that's
that was
good
like this Chicago team that they played this week is a completely different team, which it's now the time to talk about the changes in their personnel groupings with Schweinsteiger now being on board.
And they were making, so in watching that game, they were making a lot of I think actually they were volleying a lot of criticism at Chicago for picking up Schweinsteiger just because he plays a more holding midfield role, and so does Juninho, and so does Dax McCarty. So where does the creativity come from?
Right.
Where does any kind of ball playing come from in that midfield? And then he scores the header.
Yeah.
But that's, to me, from watching Schweinsteiger over the years, I don't expect him to do that very often.
Yeah.
He also, I am still not convinced that he is 100% going to be healthy the rest of the season. I mean, he's getting up there in age.
If nothing else, to pull out a draw in that environment with that team playing with the intensity they are with that signing in his first game and Chicago going up early with that header, like that was the first, like, props to them. I agree. Like, yes, licking your chops warranted for Real Salt Lake, but Montreal, who knows? I mean, they're not playing,
it's weird.
They're drawing against arguably three of the top 5 teams right now. I mean, at least in that division.
Yeah, I mean, New York City FC looks to me maybe the best team in the East.
Yep.
It's between them and Columbus. Columbus has a game in hand on everybody.
Yep.
Or reverse, whatever. Everybody has a game in hand on Columbus. And yeah, I mean, they drew Seattle. Maybe Seattle hadn't gotten their legs under them yet, but by far, I think Montreal is the best bottom of the barrel team in either league.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at LA Galaxy and look from top to bottom in terms of talent. On paper, they should be doing a lot better than they are right now.
Terrible right now.
They are, but at the same time, watching them play Vancouver looks pretty great.
Yeah.
I think I hadn't heard the name Freddie Montero in years, and that was one of the names that I knew from watching MLS the little bit that I did years ago whenever he was playing with Seattle.
Right.
Whenever he was, him and Dempsey playing up front, and then he got, I can't remember who he ended up going and playing for, but he's back, and he looks very influential. Between him and Teixeira, I think that they have a great. Like they have the prospects of scoring a lot of goals in Vancouver. They have a great crowd too.
Yeah.
I think that team is poised for a run.
So what are you thinking? I mean, we got a pretty good stretch. Let's go up to whenever we come back home, which I think as of right now, that DC United game looks like another decent game. I'm not
DC scored their first goal this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not overly intimidated by them, especially first home game in a month back here.
Next home game after that, I'm horribly intimidated because we're playing against the leading scorer in Cubo Torres and that Houston Dynamo team who just absolutely dismantled New York.
That Torres free kick. Oh,
yeah.
Was that the free kick? He scored a hat trick. He had
a penalty.
The whiff to turn around. Yeah.
And then, the goal that he scored after the whiff was pretty weak in my opinion because it bounced. I think it bounced.
It's just so funny to see him take the whiff, turn around, reset, take another shot, and then the free kick. The free kick was nice.
Yeah, I would say the free kick was great. I think that Houston looks like a fantastic team. Yes. They got scored on early by Bradley Wright Phillips, and then they just absolutely torched New York.
So what do you think we got? Let's go up before we get to the Houston game. So how many games is that? 6?
Okay, so we got Toronto, Montreal, RSL, DC, NYC, Portland. So we have 6 games before Houston.
That NYC Portland Houston stretch is going to be rough.
I don't think we win any of those games.
I don't either. Not the way New York City played this week. Like their goal, who was that? I forget his name. Their goal to get back on top. They've got 4 4 players running into the 18, and rather than any of the it's heel pass, crossover, drop pass, McNamara, like their ball work. That's the kind of thing that scares me about this Atlanta team with a quick break like that, where they have numbers and no one is playing selfish football, and they're just passing the ball around until a very clear, easy shot on goal is made available, and that's exactly how they did it. That
was what I was expecting out of Chicago whenever we went and watched the Atlanta United Chicago game. Yeah, you're right. I mean, between I think it was Villa, Jack Harrison, and then
McNamara, who obviously scored. And there was one other though.
Yeah,
because there's 4 of them.
Was it Marshall?
They just triangle pass around.
But anyway, it was anything.
Fucking
if you guys haven't
ridiculous.
seen it, first of all, make sure that you guys are checking out. For those of you like the people who left reviews, people who are getting into MLS like we are, just ground level. They do a great job of putting their highlights in a review show on YouTube every week. Just search MLS review show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, like we'll catch a couple games. It's impossible. Just like college football, I'm not going to watch every game. I'll watch a couple of teams that I care about.
I don't know that we can
division.
afford to do the $80 subscription to watch all the
definitely
games.
Check that out, because that's pretty much where most of our material comes from every week, because there's no way I'm going to watch. Not to mention just time-wise, 90 minutes.
But I was going to say, nothing that we say is going to be able to describe that goal app.
No.
Make sure you guys go watch it. It was a beautiful team goal. Maybe, I think, I'm going to take back what I said pre-show. I think that's my goal of the week.
Ooh, really?
Just because of the build-up. I think that it was just a beautiful game, or beautiful goal to watch.
What do I have for mine right now?
You flip-flopped. I have it written down. If you don't remember,
I think it was the Valeri.
It was Diego Valeri's goal.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty.
So at first you had Kubo Suarez, his free kick, which I think was a great free kick. I think it was.
I had the Soloniak goal, the volley.
I think that Torres. Let's take a step back. I think 2 of his goals. I think the free kick was a little weak.
Okay.
I think it was pretty good placement. He still placed it, in the middle third of the goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
And then just poor keeper play.
So for a good free kick goal,
okay,
man.
so let's dissect the 2 almost identical goals between Soloniak and Valeri.
Exactly. Yes.
For me, I think that Soloniak, the way that he had to turn on that ball was a little more difficult than Valeri's.
Yes.
He didn't have as much room. It was more parallel with his body.
That's true, but he also did have a lot of time to set that up. Like the settle, like it's a 2-touch volley nonetheless, but the build up for him was that extra half a second to really open up his posture and his hips to come around on that ball, versus the Valeri volley, which was just instantaneous rocket into the goal.
Yeah.
So,
either way, they were both beautiful goals.
Great.
We're seeing beautiful goals week in, week out in MLS,
Absolutely.
and it makes me so happy that it's not clustered. There are a decent amount of cluster cuss goals that happen in the 18.
There absolutely are. This week especially, the sloppy play on defense with the New York City giving up the one, and then the Real Salt Lake giving up theirs. But so I think we give up. So what do you think going into this Toronto game?
I think Toronto will probably end up losing 1-0, 2-1. I think we lose this game. I think that Toronto's due for like a breakout performance.
Okay.
I think that they're missing entirely too many shots in front of the goal. Montreal, I think we could beat them on the road.
I agree. I think we go on a stretch coming home of a 2 or 3 game win streak right there with those. I mean,
I think that we beat Montreal. I think that we go into Real Salt Lake. Yeah. Hopefully they don't catch their breath. I mean, I know they have a new coach coming in as Mike Recchi, or I think that's his name. Yeah. New York Red Bulls old coach who stayed in the stands for that game, did not take helm of the team before that 4-2, 4-1. It was 4-2 drubbing. Yeah, it was 4-2. And then I think we end up beating Real Salt Lake, and then we come back for
I think we beat DC.
I think we beat DC too.
I agree with that.
I think at worst, I think we draw.
I think we go on a nasty little. That's going to be tough. Maybe we draw one of them, but based on what we're seeing,
so tough, man.
5 weeks
to go into Yankee Stadium against that team, the way that they're attacking, it's just
exactly. But we get Houston at home, right?
We do get Houston at home.
Maybe we luck out, draw Houston at home with a big crowd.
I mean, we'll have a big crowd regardless. I think that we're going to be selling these games out all season.
Absolutely. So maybe we get lucky. Maybe we don't drop all 3. We tie 1. But, I mean, it looks like a favorable stretch going into those 3 to maybe we drop 1, pick up 3 or 4. That'd be great. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that
it's definitely doable.
Yeah. So looking at the standings, Columbus, who kind of scuppered to start the season, they are at the top spot in the East. They've played 5 games to everybody else's 4 or 3 in Orlando's case.
Right.
And then you have Atlanta at 7 points with 8 plus, plus 8 goal differential and plus 4. New York Red Bulls at 5 games, just like Columbus, because they played during the international break. They're at 7 points, but they're negative goal differential at this point.
How the hell does Orlando pick up 2 games?
I don't know. I think they'll probably have to play a midweek game. I don't know how that works.
But then somebody else is going to have to play a midweek game. I guess it would
right
be
because
the West,
the game that they missed. The game. Let me see which game got postponed. I can't remember if it. I want to say it was for bad weather for some reason.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I think that's. So we're currently in second with goal differential. We got a good stretch of games coming up. Who's Columbus got this week? Do we know?
Columbus is playing against Chicago.
Good. So that's great. I mean, even if
and they're at Toyota Park in Chicago.
Exactly.
So I think
that bodes well. I mean, ultimately, all of these teams are going to have to play each other, and if that's happening around the same time, and we're not losing our foothold on that first, second, third jockeying position for top of the division, I think we're in good shape.
I think that Chicago. So
because what is it? 12 teams make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that they changed it to where. So I was talking to Christian, our buddy, who's also a good source of information with MLS. Soon, we do need to get him on here very soon. He was saying that they switched it at some point. It used to be the top 12 teams total went, but it's 6 from each conference.
Gotcha.
Yep, and then
Dan James is calling me right now. I wish I could pipe him in on speaker. Oh, let me see if I can. Oh, it ended. He's been butt dialing me all week though, so
okay.
Maybe he won't actually. I'm gonna try to call him back. We'll see.
So we go down the standings.
Can you hear me, Dan?
Hey, man, I can hear you.
Oh, do you know? Oh, you must have saw that we're live.
Oh, are you live?
Yeah, I picked it up. You're on speaker right now.
Oh, cool. No, I was just calling up.
You sound sick, dude.
That I'm probably not going to be able to do the podcast.
As we're in the middle of it. Actually, we're finishing.
We're winding down. Do you have any, so while I got you on, I mean, you don't have to do the whole show. I'm glad that you did call. This is
Wait,
this is
you recording right now?
Yeah, we're recording right now.
So am I the first calling guest?
You are the first calling guest. How about that?
Holy explicit tag. That's amazing.
History in the making, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm just on my way, to Publix to pick up some groceries to make dinner for my kids, and I've got a little bit of SARS.
So what are your thoughts? We're rounding out the show. We talked about it. Give us like a little 2 or 3 minute spiel about what your thoughts were on the Seattle game and what your thoughts are going into the Toronto game this week.
Was pleased with our performance with Seattle, but then I was also not pleased because the midfield was basically a wreck for the first couple of minutes. But then I was so pleased to see Gonzalez Perez cement his role as one of our premier centre backs. That guy is a beast. And I'm so excited to see how much further he grows. And I thought we totally shut them down on offense. They had like a couple of chances. I remember one of the articles that I was reading was like, don't give Seattle any set pieces. Well, we gave them a ton of set pieces, and they didn't do anything with it.
Well, we did get a lucky break with the one set piece with Dempsey's hitting the crossbar, but
true. But I mean, every good team needs a little bit of luck every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that just was one instance.
Absolutely.
So, and to be honest, even if it would have gone like half an inch the other way, there's an argument there that Can was in a decent place that he could have potentially
that's a valid
one-handed it off the line.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Valid point. So what do you think going into Toronto?
I'm nervous because of Javinko about Toronto. Plus it's an away game. I think we'll be happy with another draw. I think the game against Kansas City that we were watching could have been a little bit of a fluke. Like it depending on how, they have teams players that were on international break and were coming back from that. So
right.
everyone's a little bit tired, a little bit cautious. So it's early in the season. There's no need to throw a whole bunch of risk.
That's a good point.
Things. So I think it could be another 1-1.
Okay. Good
another
deal.
1-1? Sure.
Why not?
Or a draw. I think we'd get a point, but then I'll be hoping to get a win.
Yeah, I got
Depending
you.
on, I'm interested to see how Jones does for a full 90 minutes if he gets up to it. So
yeah, and it'll be good to see some of the players that we had benched last week coming in for a full 90 minutes too. So I think it'll be exciting to see most of the squad back. Obviously, Martinez still not back in, but to see some familiar faces back out there, as well as some faces that at least I personally was getting more familiar with going into this game with Gressel and Garza and all that this week. Seeing all that come together for a full 90 minutes, I'm really excited. So
it's going to be great. If our back four can stay healthy, that is going to be just formidable for the whole season.
Absolutely.
So, have you guys talked about the international interest that Martinez is getting?
We haven't. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to mention it whenever we got you off the line. But if you're going to still keep trucking with us, you sent the link to us this week. I hadn't seen it, but go ahead. Why don't you? What are your thoughts on it?
So now, I was thinking about it. The article is just some. I forget the actual source, but the article is pure speculation. I mean, for all I know, they're just a Leeds fan. Like Leeds United in the English Championship League are fighting for promotion into the Premier League right now. So they're looking for a striker to pair with Chris Wood, who I've known, who was on loan at my team, Birmingham City, but then realised that we're complete trash and needed to move on somewhere else. So he would potentially be a good pairing with him, though I could see that maybe they would work better by themselves. But either way, the interest still stands that other people are taking notice of him and looking.
Especially only being 5 weeks in.
Exactly, 5 weeks in. He's only played 3 games, and he's injured.
Right.
So there's no Leeds have not feigned any interest, or any other team to my knowledge. So it's just pure conjecture, but that people are saying, oh, well, he would be great on that team. Well, fuck off. He does.
Exactly.
And hey, I don't know, Tim, have you seen any other research on how those international trades would work? Like, if we got a pile of money for him, how does that help us when we've got a cap that we're working with? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, I'm across the table, but
yeah, okay.
I think that's just homework I need to do. I didn't do my homework. I'm gonna get lunch detention for this.
No.
Front office Tim. We gotta get all the stats.
No, I think I'm very interested too, because I think that we have a couple guys that we could see get shipped off in the offseason. I think that there's going to be a lot of international interest, as there was prior to the season for Almiron. I think there's going to be plenty of interest for Joseph Martinez if that's the case. I'm with you, though. I think that was just not speculation. It was more of a Leeds fan saying, this is what our team needs to do. Go get this guy.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll see that. I think Almiron might be gone next season. And then I honestly, the way that Gonzalez Perez is playing, I don't want it to happen, but I think that he could be very important.
Well, look, we can't lose our entire team after one season. So
you never know. I mean, we might lose Tata too. He might end up going to a bigger job.
Yeah.
But I really hope that he stays with this project. But yeah, I don't know. I need to look into that, Dan. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always a chance the team could be gutted after the season. But the thing is, we've got money behind us, and we've also got savvy, a real savvy front office. So there's always, a lot of people play soccer, and there's always going to be good up and coming players that we can bring in. So that's the biggest thing, is having those resources. So players come and go, but resources not every team has.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you've been a great resource for us. I think we're going to cut it. We're right at about an hour, right?
Yeah, we're about 10 minutes to an hour.
So thanks for calling in, man. First call-in guest. I'm so glad that you happened to call.
So apologies for any level. I don't know, for the people who are watching, I'm sitting here manually like messing with the switches because
like,
this is a very ghetto rig call-in where Dan is calling.
This is a legitimate call-in where it's on my cell phone and we're trying to pivot as it happens. So, but yeah, we hope you feel better, man. I'm glad you called in. We'll have to get you back in to sit down with us here soon, maybe after the Toronto game. But feel better nonetheless.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
All right, man. You too.
All right, bye.
Bye. Dude, how great was that?
Yeah. So let's bring the levels back down a little bit. It got a little loud at some point, I think. So.
Hopefully the balance and Audacity will cut out some of that and make it a little bit more evened out. But
I hope so.
Some of that. So on that note, I've got nothing else to add. I couldn't ask for a better way to end the show. We do have a call-in line though for people. Good segue into that for people that may want to call in, either leave a voicemail or I don't know if we get notifications if you call in while we're recording.
I have it turned off.
Okay.
I have it to where it goes straight into voicemail.
So but we can change that, right?
We could, yes. We could
So how about this? Here's the challenge. As soon as some people start calling, leaving some voicemails, maybe we'll open it up for some live interaction.
Yeah. So for those of you who are looking to leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think of game against Toronto, what you guys think is going to happen, predictions for this away stretch, and then the home stretch coming back. But call in. It's 678-827-3297. Again, like an infomercial. That's 678-827-3297. It's a Google Voice number. Go straight to voicemail. Just leave us a message. We'll play it on the show.
Should be like something like DARK, like the last 4 letters.
Yeah, good luck with that, man.
That's probably a different kind of phone line.
Yeah, after dark.
So thanks for checking us out. Whether you found us on YouTube, iTunes, however you found us, be sure to leave a thumbs up or 5 stars and or a review / comment that we will read on the show. Obviously, your voicemails are welcomed. You can find us both on Twitter. Tim, where can they find you at?
They can find me at Tim Herb. That's my name. TIMHERB.
You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC, number 1 TECT, collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B, and then number 4. Check out our website, gethomebefore.com. And as always, be home before dark.